So, what do people actually complain about when it comes to Israeli real estate? We went digging through online forums and social media to find out. And what we uncovered? Wow. It connects everything from your noisy neighbors all the way up to complex global economics. Let's break it down.
It often kicks off with this simple, universal feeling. This one's pulled straight from a Reddit thread, and if you've ever rented an apartment, you've probably felt this exact same way. You know, that sense that the person holding the keys to your home is just operating on a completely different wavelength.
But you know, the complaints get really serious really fast. It's not just about landlords. It's about who you have to share walls with. This memory, shared by another user, it's so stark. It's a powerful reminder that a bad housing situation isn't just an inconvenience. It can be genuinely traumatic.
And then there's the stuff, the actual physical apartment. It ranges from the really serious to the, well, slightly absurd, like this user's description of their possessed-sounding fridge. The quality of our living spaces is this constant source of frustration. So landlords, neighbors, appliances, these are complaints you could hear pretty much anywhere, right?
Okay, so everyone complains about housing. That's a given. But how do these very personal, very emotional gripes connect to the unique economic and, yes, political backdrop of Israel? That's what we're really going to dig into here.
All right, first up, let's talk about the number one complaint you hear everywhere. The cost. It's the barrier to entry. It's that monthly stress. It's that number on the listing that just makes you do a double take.
And this isn't some abstract economic theory. This is a real listing. Over 3 million shekels for an apartment that's just over 1,000 square feet in Jerusalem. I mean, that is a staggering financial reality for any family just looking for a place to live.
But here's the thing. As high as that number seems, it's actually part of a much bigger story. An OECD report shows this isn't just happening in one place. Between 2010 and 2019, real house prices, and that means after you adjust for inflation, went up in almost every single developed country. So that specific Jerusalem listing, it fits right into this wider global context of insane costs.
So why is this happening pretty much everywhere? Well, a key reason that comes up again and again in economic analyses is regulation. Specifically, you've got these really restrictive rules about land use that make it super difficult, slow, and expensive to build new homes where people actually need them. The supply just can't keep up with the demand.
But listen, it's not just about the high price you pay. It's also about what you get for all that money. So now let's talk about the quality and the condition of the homes themselves.
This quote actually comes from an in-home therapist describing what they saw in a client's home. It's an extreme example, for sure, but it points to a fundamental problem. The quality of housing can be incredibly poor, and that deeply affects the well-being of the people living there.
And this number right here might help explain why. A report on global construction trends found something fascinating. While the rest of the economy got 65% more productive over the last few decades, the construction industry, it improved by just 5%. Think about that for a second. We're building homes almost the exact same way we did 30 years ago, and that means costs go up and corners get cut on quality and materials.
This lack of progress isn't just one single problem either. It's this tangled web of issues. You've got complex building codes, you've got labor shortages, and you've got those restrictive land use regulations we just talked about. It all comes together to make building new homes slower, way more expensive, and often of lower quality.
Okay, now we need to address another layer of this whole conversation, one that's especially present when you're talking about Israel. We're going to look at how the political landscape crosses paths with real estate.
This claim, which we took directly from a social media post, represents a big part of the online discussion. The argument being made here is that certain real estate transactions are deeply connected to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, specifically when they involve land in the West Bank.
Now, to understand the potential economic impact here, we can use a pretty neutral financial concept called geopolitical risk. It's a standard term for how a country's political situation, conflicts, tensions, can affect its investment climate. It's basically a way of putting a number on uncertainty.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. The OECD is very clear about it. They state that Israel has a higher sovereign risk premium specifically because of these geopolitical risks. What that means, in plain English, is that the country has to pay more to borrow money on the global market. And that extra cost, it can ripple through the whole economy, influencing everything from business investment right down to the real estate market itself.
So, where does all this leave us? Well, when you start pulling all these different threads together, from noisy fridges to global economics,
you start to see that the foundation of the housing issue is just incredibly complex.
You see, those everyday complaints we started with, they aren't just happening in a bubble. They're the symptoms you can see on the surface, but they're caused by much deeper issues. Global economic trends that are jacking up prices everywhere, a construction industry that's basically been stuck in a time warp for decades, layers and layers of complex regulations, and, in this specific case, a truly unique and challenging geopolitical environment.
So, in the end, whether it's a frustrated post on Reddit or a real estate listing in Jerusalem, our homes are so much more than just shelter. They're a direct reflection of the vast, complicated systems that shape our entire world. And that really leaves us with one final question to think about. What story is your home telling?